got rings.
One last time.
Okay. This is the one. I'm gonna go first, and I just need to get this off my chest.
Mm-hmm.
Nailed it. They freaking nailed it. They did. This to me, right? This is the one episode I'm like, yo. If I feel like they moved, this episode felt like it moved with purpose. It was paced right to me. It started off great. It ended not so great, but they nailed it. And Boromir, I'll let you tell this one.
Right. Boromir lied, right?
Yes.
And people died. Okay. Boromir lied. People died.
You have to do it. One doesn't simply walk
into. But someone did. Someone did.
Yeah. So the episode started off and tried to do this switcheroo thing, right? Oh, with the stranger.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, at this point in the show, stop playing with me. Call him by his name, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as they did that, I automatically knew, oh yeah, this is a switcheroo. Like they're trying to, they're trying to play with us. Or, well, not trying to play with us. This is not right. As soon as it happened, as soon as the sisters or Eminem and her sisters came in and, oh, we're here to bring you to, what was it, Rune?
Or whatever, I don't know.
Whatever, right. Because you are Sauron. I was like, get out of here, first of all. That's not.
I mean, that's 100% that he wasn't Sauron.
Like, yeah, that was 100%. I was like, yo, you, whatever, like, next. Yeah. And then I think the next episode is, not the next episode, the next scene after that, right, was Halbrand. And I'm like, really?
Yeah. So I think we all went back and forth on the Halbrand is Sauron theory.
Yes, we did.
World.
We did.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So when the thing happened in the Southlands, formerly in the place formerly known as the Southlands, right? When they caught up to Adar and he was about to lance Adar, I felt it in my spirit that he was trying to hide something. That's why he wanted to kill Adar. I really felt it. But then the whole like, no, like, oh, was it something I did to your sister? No, it didn't seem like that.
To a woman, that's what he said.
Yeah, it seemed more personal than that, right?
Yeah, it did. It did seem kind of personal, and like, it's like, does Sauron have a personality? Like, right. I never really caught that from reading Lord of the Rings or like, from what I remember of reading the Silmarillion, which is like Sauron is more like an entity. Do you know what I mean? Like, than this dude who like, I don't know, like lives, like goes to the evil office and has an evil office crush and an evil office like guy he doesn't like, his work enemy, like that is Adar apparently. It's like, is that Sauron? Like, I don't know if that's Sauron, which to me made it like less likely that he'd be Halbrand. But I guess like maybe next season we will get some of this, like, I don't know. I feel like Halbrand being Sauron, it answers some things.
Yes.
But it also like asked as many more questions.
Oh, there's so many more questions.
But to me, they aren't fun questions. They're more like, why was he on the ocean?
What? That is the most. That is the biggest.
Who are those people that he was hanging with on the ocean?
But it could. Okay, so now this is maybe an answer. This is my attempt, right? This is what my brain did in that moment. I was like, could he have just been? Could he have? Because apparently he said he said something to the Galadriel, right? He was like, I've seen something, I've lived. Could he have foresight?
Well, Sauron does, right? Isn't that one of his powers?
There it is. So like, I'm like, maybe.
But so does what's her face?
Galadriel, but not now.
I thought maybe once she gets the ring, she can read people's minds.
So I don't think now she has it, but yeah, in my mind I was like, yeah, he knew she was gonna jump off the barge, and he knew, so he planned this because he wanted to make the rings, and then I think what also solidified that Halbrand was Sauron was when the ringmaker, I forget his name.
Silverborn.
Yeah, when he started that speech, power over. Like I was like, oh my god, like
yeah, it's like Sauron got in your brain, bro.
Bruh.
Yeah.
Because we know Sauron does trick him into making the other rings.
This is the thing I have an issue with, though.
Go ahead.
So, like, if we're talking about like Tolkien lore, like I feel like they kind of blew their Sauron interacting with the elves like load
too
early, which is like the elf rings are supposed to be, as Gadriel says, like for the elves, and Sauron doesn't have any real control over them, right. Which is why you can why Gandalf, Galadriel, and Elrond can wear them and not be corrupted, right? Unlike the humans and the dwarves and that's it, right?
Yeah.
And so, but now won't they be on the lookout for Sauron? So how is he going to influence the making of the later rings, which do have his stamp?
I think, okay, so this is again, my brain played with me a lot, right? Okay. I'm watching this. I think Celebrimbor, whatever his name is, goes looking for him. I think at this point, when he sees what the rings can do, and he can't figure out that power himself, he goes like, okay, all right, I need you come here, like you help me do this. Let's do this again
on the DL.
Yeah, right. And the fact that Sauron is humanoid right now, right?
Yeah, he still has his like pleasing shape.
Right. So I think that's how Sauron is able to manipulate the dwarves. That's how he's obviously able to manipulate humans. Is he still human looking, right? And he will need that to be able to snake himself into places. And I think what they were trying to set up was he and Celebrimbor's relationship in this episode, because they became super tight.
Yes.
It was so quick. Like they became best friends. And it's so funny because Celebrimbor was Elrond's like
friend, like his like uncle.
Right. And he just like forgot all about Elrond for this new kid.
Which I don't like. Elrond is actually kind of awkward in this episode. Like he's kind of there but doesn't do anything.
And like this is what made me think about it. Like he didn't have anything to do in this episode because he wasn't interacting with Durin.
Yeah, I mean there was no Durin at all in this episode.
Yes, which is weird though. They just,
I guess the last episode resolved what they felt that Durin. I thought there was gonna be more. I was like, cool. Well, to be fair, there's also another dead end in this episode. Like I felt that the elf stuff with Sauron was fine, and I thought that the Gandalf stuff was fine, but like. The stuff with Numenor like went fucking nowhere. Yeah. Like it was just like, what is the point of this shit? Like I do not understand. And again, it could be I had a long day at work. I was tired. I did not understand the conversation on the boat between Isildur's dad and the queen. Like I was like, what are they talking about? They talking about what they want a bone? Like, are they going to go back to Earth, like Middle Earth? Like, I do not understand this conversation.
They definitely want a bone.
The queen is that what it is?
You know what? The queen is like, you know what? Now that I've lost my sight, I don't need eyes. You know, like I just know your heart. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know. That was a very awkward conversation because it started off like, what was it like? You didn't need to do much for me to follow you into Middle Earth. You didn't like, okay, so why didn't she need to do much? Because usually when those conversations start off, right, it's usually because like the guy is about to tell the woman is because I love you. And so it was easy for me to make that decision. But honestly, I didn't know what was going on, just as you didn't. I didn't know what was going on with that. I thought that was a very awkward conversation. But again, the reason, okay, so I think if we break this episode down, it has holes. Like it is a Swiss cheesy episode. It's a block of Swiss cheese, but I liked it because stuff happened. Like
stuff did happen.
Yeah, it's like stuff happened and didn't happen at the same time, because now we get back to Numenor, right? To nothing. The dad is dead, and that's the end of that. And the fact is, didn't end right. No, it didn't end right there. That's one of the endings. When it gets to Numenor, like Isildur's sister is going to touch
she touches the thing.
Yes. For what?
Who knows? Isildur's sister's just been,
they'll-
or that's yeah. Is it Isildur? Yeah, it's Isildur's sister. Yeah. And
yeah,
where's Isildur? Like we know he's not
right.
dead.
She's awkward. Or does she see Isildur in it and she's like, you know what? We have to. Is she the one that makes them go back to Middle Earth? Because we were saying like something has to set Numenor to split, right? To splinter. Something has to.
Well, we got MAGA Man who's going to probably try to take control of the government,
right? Because now the Queen is blind, right? So
yeah.
Or is that what's going to splinter Numenor, or is it going to be a civil war and then Numenorians are like, all right, we'll go this way. You can keep Numenor, stay here. We don't want to follow the old ways, which is going to go, because you have to get Sauron into Numenor.
Well, Sauron has already been to Numenor. Like, so actually, a friend of mine made this point, right? Like, you could argue that maybe when Sauron was there, he planted seeds that will blossom into the corruption of them worshiping the devil and just human sacrificing people left and right, and then trying to invade heaven, which is how Numenor falls in the story. And so,
so you think they're not going to do it how it was done in the book? How they're not going to go to Middle Earth and surround Sauron's army and bring him over?
I mean, maybe they'll do that. I mean, they like, because the Queen is like threatening to go back, but that is just kind of repeating what they did this season. So I have no idea. So like, I don't think that they gave you a clear like, where do we go from here with Numenor? It literally just felt like it ended. Like it was just like, all right, we're out of money and budget and time. All right, goodbye, Numenor.
But then they're filming. They started filming season 2. They want
so which means we're probably going to get it maybe this next year, maybe early 2024.
Right, they want to beat Game of Thrones to the punch.
Yeah, because
Game of Thrones is ahead right now, like miles and miles ahead. But this is one of the best things I liked about this episode. I have a friend who's also watching, who was like super not into the lore, just watched the Lord of the Rings, but then decided to watch this. And when she had just finished watching, she calls me. She's like, "Hey, oh my God, so I was like, okay, so even the layperson can get the gist of like, because she had just watched all of it, right? She was watching it week to week, and so she just watched the finale. She was like, yes, I finally understand how things happen. I'm like, the show is good enough that the layperson can understand what's going on. I think that's why they're going with some of the decisions they're making, as to like not to go too steep into lore, because then you get to lose the lay people. So you play with it a little bit, you make Sauron a handsome fella, who tells Galadriel that you should marry me. So
that also, I don't know. Like it
was funny. That was a funny scene. I'm like,
it was definitely like I don't know. That also didn't land for me. Like that whole sequence did not land for me. Like I like the brother thing. I was like, okay, I can get that. But then he's like, you really wanted to bone me, Galadriel. Like, why don't you bone me and we become the dark? And I think like they were trying to go for like the speech that she gives in Lord of the Rings about like, you would have offered me the whole world, if I'd taken the ring. Right. Yeah, like I think they were trying to like parallel that, like that she see like that I think you're supposed to get a sense that she almost says yes there. Because when he says like, she goes like, is it to serve or to rule? And he goes, to rule. And she's like, that was the wrong answer. Like that, like she could have been corrupted in that moment. Like I think they're trying to connect that to what happens in Lord of the Rings, but it felt very like ham-fisted.
Yes. The other thing, right? If we want to play with it, I think the other part of it is they want to show how like silver-tongued Sauron is, right? If anything, it's like, oh, he is. If he can almost get Galadriel, then he can definitely corrupt everybody else, because you see what he did here. I think if we're being very honest, like he's like, oh, see, he's handsome and he's like smooth talking, and
and he also like makes this point, like everything Galadriel did, she did on her own. without like where she's like, you forced me to do this. He's like, I wanted to stay in Numenor,
which is not a lie.
Like, I saved you. Like, yeah, none of these things are lies, right?
Right. Well, I mean, they're not full truths,
right? Or the thing of like, he was my enemy too, right? The
right.
Ador thing, right?
Adar, right? Because I mean, Adar. This is the thing, right? You have Morgoth, who's
the
like,
devil.
oh, yes, and this is like, oh, this is my child, and this is my favorite child. So obviously, you don't like each other, right?
I guess, like, yeah, like, so I guess, like, is he gonna go and fight Adar in Mordor now
to take
control of the orcs?
Yes. That should be interesting. So, do you think next season is a whole bunch of battles, or do you think they're gonna play the political and battle like they did this season?
I truly have no idea. Like, I mean, like, for me, like, once because to me they like screwed the timeline up in like how I always approach this, of like, I thought Sauron was going to interact with the elves later,
right?
But they've already done that. So I think you provided a great solution that the Elven Smiths end up having to go to Sauron,
yes,
right, for whatever reason. I think it's a cool solution. But like, I think all bets are off at this point. Like, I think some of the big things, like the fall of Numenor, right, that's going to happen. The foundation of Gondor and Andor, or whatever the name of the other kingdom that gets destroyed is called. You know, and like all of those things, like all I think will happen, but how they happen, in the context is going to be completely good. And I assume Halbrand is going to just be Sauron. Right. He's never actually in the armor, which the ads keep threatening he's going to be in. I'm like, where's his armor?
Like, I think if you push pause at one point, they show you like there's this poster with the armor, right? Even right here behind me, you see the armor, and it's so amazing because when we first see Adar, right, we see his right hand, you know, and it's the armor. So I'm like, oh, that's Sauron, right? Like, and it would have made sense for Sauron to be half elf or to be full elf. But I think it also makes sense for Sauron to be human.
Well, Sauron is anything, right? Like, he can just appear how he wants. So he, And the Sauron, like, when Morgoth was defeated, like, I came to the light. It's just like, I don't know. Like, I don't need humanized Sauron. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've said this before, right? Like, Sauron doesn't need to be humanized, because what's human about Tolkien is the people who encounter his corruption, right? Like, you don't, like, the human element, and what's interesting is, like, can Frodo overcome the temptations of the ring, or not, right? And what is the consequence of that? Like, can Boromir and Faramir and Gandalf, like, and Aragorn, like, can they overcome this corruption versus, like, Sauron has his work enemy? Like, I don't care. Like, Sauron is cool because he is, like, the Dark Lord that is, like, hanging over this. He's a literal eye, right? I think the more you, like, humanize Sauron, to me, the less interesting he becomes.
I mean, I get that, but again, like I said, it could have been they're trying to play with this silver-tongued, handsome
absolutely
guy, right?
Yeah, that's definitely the case.
That's how I want to look at it. Like, I and it's so, like, again, this is why I'm grateful that not every show does the thing Game of Thrones does, because then if they did, I would absolutely destroy all of them. Because if the producers came out and said, yeah, you know, we wanted to humanize Sauron before we make him the devil, I would absolutely hate you for saying that. But you're not saying that, so I love it. Like, so don't do the posting, like, Rings of Power people.
Oh, they're out there doing interviews about how this recontextualizes the season. The twist. Because, like, you know, now you have to think about all the scenes Halbrand appeared in and what was he trying to accomplish there.
No, I think okay, so the thing, since you just brought that up, I think when you go back to when they are in Numenor and Halbrand is in jail and he tells MAGA guy, hey, where do you think she's going? I think that's one way to look at it, and I think that's how he begin. But you know what your friend also said was right. You know, he's sowing the seeds early. I just wish. I just really wish that again, this whole season to me was set up. This entire
it definitely was
set up.
But Mo, you just gave me the idea. So if we want to solve the traditional way Numenor gets corrupted, so Galadriel knows that Halbrand is the baddie. She goes to Numenor and is like, "Hey, all of your friends died because Halbrand tricked us." They go back, invade the Southlands, capture Halbrand, then bring him back again to Numenor, and then he proceeds to corrupt. Because they should be angry at him,
Right,
and want revenge.
well, that does kind of make sense.
Right, once they find out.
Yeah, that does kind of make sense. So we'll see. I think they've put themselves in an interesting position where you could go from this point and be great, or you could just absolutely lose all of it, right? Then, like I said, like you were saying, like all bets are off for certain things. So because they're in this unique position with all of that, they could go good or go shitty.
Yeah, no, I think that this show, I mean, to me, it was just firmly mid. Like, I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was a thing I watched for 7 weeks. And it was, sometimes it had some good highs and it had some low lows, too many hobbits. But like, it was also just unobjectionable. Like, it was a lot closer to, I think I said this last week, Wheel of Time than Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Like, because Game of Thrones to me was all high highs and low lows. Yes. This was more like slight lows, slight highs.
Very mid.
Very mid.
Which is why I looked at this finale. I'm like, yeah, they nailed it, because the show, I've not been shy to say the show is just ass. And
yeah, loyal viewers, Mo has wanted to stop doing this for like weeks.
I have for a while. Like, I didn't want to do last week. But yeah, they did something in this where they set some things up. We got Sauron, and we definitely got Gandalf. I'm just, yeah, like, I think the majority of the season was mid, but it kind of ended higher than mid to me. If you're gonna rate this episode, and since I know this, like, that's like towards the end, but now I'm interested. If you were gonna rate this episode,
C-.
Wow.
C-.
You've been a lot more positive on this show than I have been.
I was just like kind of underwhelmed. Like, I did not enjoy this. Like, I just also was like, okay. Like, at the end, I was just like, okay. Like,
I mean, they gave you the song at the end.
I did the song A. Like, I really enjoyed the song. I don't know. Like, I guess for me is the Halbrand thing. The more I've sat with it, the more it annoys me. Like, and it doesn't even like annoy me in the sense that, like, yes, the ocean thing doesn't make any sense. Was he actually wounded or was he not wounded? I guess he was faking it. I don't know. Like, it was more like I just did not like the confrontation between him and Galadriel. And where that like kind of left this like weird taste in my mouth where I was like, this is the confrontation with Sauron that we're getting this season. Like, it's literally like the confrontation that Rand has in Wheel of Time. This is another Wheel of Time thing. Like,
are the Wheel of Time producers producing this show?
They might be.
Let me ask you a quick question then. Oh, crap, I just had it. No, let's it'll probably come back. I literally just had it. Brand confrontation. It was confrontation. It was definitely confrontation. Ah, crap, I missed it. But how would you have wanted a Halbrand review, Halbrand Sauron review?
I have no idea, Mo. Like, I think I would have like maybe like it was a secret, like no one knew who Sauron was yet. Like, Galadriel figuring it out here. She figures it out pretty quickly too.
Yeah, I got the question. Yeah, and this is there's two questions. So, how do you feel about the fact that she asked the guy
Google?
Yeah,
She
and
Googles him again.
right. So you remember the one episode where they did it?
Yeah,
It was like that quick, right?
it was like that quick again.
Was it that quick again?
It
I
was that
felt like
quick again. It was like one scene later. Like,
she changed clothes, didn't she?
yeah, okay. So like a few days later, I don't know. Like he was undone by Google. That could be literally what my problem is. That Sauron is like undone by Google. He's like the toxic new boyfriend of your friend who is undone by the fact that you Googled him.
Right. And then the other question, when Elrond goes to the pool or the lake and he pulls the scroll out and he comes up, what, like, they had that, like, was that awkward for you?
Well, what was that? Like, I don't know if it was awkward. It's just like, was it trying to be like, because Galadriel never actually says that she's like that it's Sauron, right? So is that supposed to be that like Elrond figured it out too?
Yeah, because I think there was something that was said in the beginning or when they met up with each other. You know, I made a mistake. I should have never like put you on that boat. Like I'm sorry, blah blah blah. And yeah, do you trust me? And then yeah, you know, we'll move on. We'll move past our mistakes. And then she repeats that line to him. You know, like remember there was something you said about a mistake, and now Elrond is like starting to see like I don't, you know, like I'm starting to think maybe I should, you know, something.
Yeah, no, yeah.
What was that look? That look was so annoying because what, like in my head, I'm like, is he about to be like, no, don't give her a ring or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to tell these people, right? Don't you think so? You have to like.
I mean, I think it was by implication that she was telling them. Like, I felt like they all knew it was Sauron. Like, because like, why would you freak out so badly? And the dude just disappeared and almost killed her.
Yeah, he was like, where's Halbrand? Well, he's not here anymore, and he's not going to come back.
And if he ever comes back, like, murder him.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay.
All right, well, she did give up her dagger.
She did. I mean, and that was like a good moment. Like, I don't know, the Forging of the Rings was cool.
Mm-hmm.
I just think for me, I guess what comes back to it is a lot of what happened in this episode, I think should have been spread out in the season.
Yes.
Like Gandalf, as I said to Mo in a private chat, like Gandalf got a lot less annoying when he started talking.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot believe it took 10 episodes for him to talk.
It took a while.
And it was also a little on the nose. You know, an adventure is something you need friends for. It's like, oh my God, okay, I get it. Like, this is Gandalf. Like, he should have just been taking out his like weed and just started like rolling a joint right in front of everybody.
Right. The Hobbit stuff. Did you like it? Care about it? Okay, we're just gonna skip that.
We're just gonna skip the Hobbitses. Like I felt like the Hobbit stuff just felt like, all right, we need to introduce Gandalf. Gandalf, Hobbits. Like, what changed about the Hobbits? Like, the main Hobbit girl, sure. She's like now proto Bilbo.
Right. She's literally. And you know what? I thought her friend was gonna become Sam. I'm like, oh my God, they're really like a lot
of homosocial relationships among
right.
Hobbits.
You're my best friend. Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna follow you forever. Yep. Okay, Sam, come on. I thought
she might sneak in the next season. Like, who knows? She's sneakily following them. Like, I don't know. It's just like Hobbits are. It takes a lot to get me to care about Hobbits. Mm-hmm. And the show consistently like failed to reach that bar over and over again. And the finale, nothing changes for the Hobbits except that one girl.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Frodo 2.0's friend becomes the new pseudo map reader.
Sure, because the one dude died.
Right.
Which was, you know, okay.
Like, can I say something? As soon as I saw the stranger with the staff, I was like, "Oh my God, just give him!" Like, they went around the bush, like, bro. No, this show does that though. They only defined one major character in this episode, one major character, and that was Sauron. They didn't define the stranger. Well, okay, my bad. They did.
Did they call him Gandalf in this?
No, it was Wisdom. It's star, and your tongue it translates to wizard.
Yeah, that okay. I thought for some reason they said he was Gandalf, but
no,
we just
Gandalf.
no. He's and do you notice like as soon as he has his memory, like his like little rag becomes like more of a robe.
Yes,
and it's just like, oh my god, like couldn't this have happened 5 episodes ago?
And he's putting more sentences together. This is someone who could not listen. I'm like, okay. And I think Eminem gave him his memories, right? Because they're like, they showed me who I'm supposed to be, and it's so dark. And she's like, yeah, take the staff. As soon as he held the staff, I was like, oh, there he is. Are they gonna change his name? Nope. No, they're not.
Is he still the stranger in the like?
Oh, when you push pause, he's still the stranger. Yes. 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 I hit pause a lot of times just to see if he was gonna change as the episode went by. Because I remember because you remember Adar in his introduction episode didn't show up. Like there was no name for him. And then like halfway through when they actually called him a name, dang. Yeah, it was a B. It was a B episode.
I feel like you know what, Mo? There's a very different energy in this episode than past ones. I feel like in past ones, like I have like energized you about the show, and then this one, I like drained your enthusiasm out of it. Yes. And like, cause you were all like, I loved it, and I'm like,
and then we start like poking holes in it, and then we realize it's a ball of Swiss cheese. But I will say this though, the things I usually complain about, right? How slow paced it is, how nothing happens. I can't really say that here.
No,
things do happen. I actually was excited to see the rings become something, right? Mm-hmm. Even though it took like 45 minutes for that to happen because they just kept, the alloys, this, that, and the third. And then every time, listen, they should have just called him Sauron as soon as the episode opened, because every time something needed to be done with the rings, here he comes with the solution.
Well, but to be fair, you noticed that instead of Gladriel. To be fair, at least she's like, wait, what? Like, isn't this guy supposed to be a king that we like should be caring about what happened to the Southlands? And now all he's about this ring and like this guy who trained him and was like, we make or like take the weaker stuff. And I was just like, oh my god, okay. Like they really, like Gladriel, they went from like 0 to 60 to Halbrand being Sauron. Yes. It's like, is he Sauron? Maybe. Is he Sauron? Maybe. No, he's definitely Sauron, bro.
Right. Like, yeah, there was no guessing. Like you just as soon as it opened, oh yeah, this is definitely Sauron.
Because they told you that Gandalf was Sauron. I was like, oh,
yeah. As soon as they did that, and then so as soon as they did that, the next scene is Halbrand dying on his horse, apparently. Waking up, and then it's like, oh, you're Caleb Brimbor. This is, your workshop. Oh my god! And then he touches the mithril. Oh, you should use this to create what you. I'm like, okay, all right. Like, and the worst part is Caleb Brimbor. He seems very impressionable. So like,
yeah, it could have just a little weird, but whatever.
Weird, right? For a superior elf, he's so impressionable. It's so weird.
Which could just be a Sauron thing, right? Like,
right?
Like that could be what they're trying to get at. Like, I think, to me, I think that this episode it had a lot of good things, but it just wasn't like fully there. Like there was like a lot of air, like like it was.
Definitely agree with that.
Like the air was moving, which it sometimes didn't in the previous episodes.
Right.
But it was still at the end of the day, like you're like, okay, I'm gonna get this. But it's air.
Mm-hmm.
Right. To get back to your cheese metaphor, right? The cheese is like it's the kind of cheese or food that you eat, and at first you're like, okay, that's pretty good, but it's not that filling at the end.
No.
Like and like I will like I don't know if this is your case. Like I'll watch the next season of the show.
I will watch the start of the next season. I mean, because we're probably gonna get 2 episodes, so I'll see those 2 episodes. After that 2 episodes, then I'm gonna make a decision at that point. Okay, have they done enough? That was the next point I was gonna make. So, if you weren't committed to watching the second. if you weren't there yet, right? Did they do enough to bring you to watch the second season?
No, for me. Like
Honestly, it's a no for me. But if we're gonna do this, like honestly, if we're gonna keep doing this, then yes, I will watch.
Yeah, I mean, I will watch. Like, so for me with these shows, it's like the bar is like, does it make me like unbelievably excited? Like She-Hulk did that, right? Mandalorian did that. Stranger Things did that, right? These are all things like I want Stranger Things news now. Tell me, like, what, like, is Netflix going to drop a trailer? Like, if Netflix drops a trailer for the next Stranger Things, I'm gonna like find the first 5 minutes, even if I'm at work, to watch that trailer.
Right.
Like, if they announce She-Hulk season 5, I'm gonna watch the YouTube video of him, announcing She-Hulk season 2, right? Like, that's the Rings of Power is just the thing that's gonna happen.
Right.
Like,
right.
I like to me, in many ways, it's like
the other
Amazon show.
Right.
Like, well, it's like, oh, I'll watch it when it's out there. Like, I'm not like, I don't find anything objectionable about watching it. Like, I'm not gonna make fun of people excited. Like, if you are excited, that's cool. Like, I don't find anything objectionable about this show. It's not a Zack Snyder thing, but it's definitely not something that I'm like putting in my pop culture like thirst. I'm not thirsty for the next season of the show the way in which I am for like She-Hulk, Stranger Things,
Mando.
Yeah,
like I'm with you there. They didn't do enough to make me watch the second season. I'm watching the second season because I know Roy and I will be doing the second season review at some point. So I'll watch that. But I will tell you now, if those first 2 episodes don't do enough, because again, a lot of this show for me moving forward was predicated on the second episode of season 1.
Mm-hmm. Same with me.
The first episode was boring.
Yeah, I agree. So
if those 2 episodes together as a unit don't do enough for me, I will tell Roy, I will tell you guys live as we're doing this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the rest of the 7-week watch. I'll just wait till it's all over and then binge it once.
And then we'll do an episode about it.
Yeah.
Like, in many ways, probably this is, I wouldn't be surprised if this is better binge watched.
I would think so.
I have a feeling. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. Go ahead. I
like
think we're going to
that Netflix, like Bosk Legacy, whatever, whatever Bosk season 6 or whatever it is, had a kind of a similar issue where it wasn't designed to be serialized like this. Like, we used Bosk, the first 5 seasons were just all released at once. And I think Amazon is not used to like pacing things in a way that makes sense. But I have to go real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay. So you know what? But yeah. I was gonna say this. I was gonna say this before Roy comes back. The show I think is better binge watch. I think the point I was gonna make was very much akin to what Roy was gonna say. The show for me is better binge watch because the weight of something exciting to happen, I think, is what usually kills the excitement, for another episode. It's like, okay, nothing exciting happened last episode. Maybe something exciting will happen next week. So I think Amazon either drops all of it one time, or you if you're Amazon, you drop all of it one time, or you make it better. You just make it more exciting. I think it just wasn't as exciting for me. It's not The Boys. It's not The Boys, which is an exciting show week to week. But you should Rings of Power. I think because it's a Lord of the Rings is an epic show. I think you drop all of it at once and just kind of shoot, I forgot where I was going with this, but I was saying, like,
I'm sorry about that.
No, you're good. I was saying because it's such an epic show and it's gonna have super slow moments, I don't think a week to week kind of watch makes me, because I don't know. It's not Game of Thrones, because Game of Thrones works week to week, and I think the reason why Game of Thrones works week to week is because it was introduced to us as a and again, the people that are behind Game of Thrones make serial TV, right?
Yep.
I don't know if the people behind this show make that stuff. I think they make streaming shows. I think people who make streaming shows make binge shows.
Definitely, so I definitely agree with that. Because I think that the structure of this show is just like fundamentally not designed. Yeah, Kyle is exactly correct. I do think that this is paced like a traditional Netflix show. I think we even mentioned that earlier in earlier reviews, right? That like it's structured like a 2018 Netflix show, right? Where like everything is just kind of awkwardly placed, awkwardly positioned. It doesn't do any of the like sort of serial things that Game of Thrones does, which is very traditional television. Like you get a concrete experience that makes you want to go on to the next one, right?
Yes.
And then there's the new modern Netflix design, which is like everything interesting in the episode happens in the first 5 minutes and the last 15 minutes.
Yes.
To make you so you do not turn it off.
Correct.
Right. And if you're like, oh, it's about, I got to the end of, I'm going to watch one more episode of Stranger Things before bed. Okay, the episode's almost over. Only 10 minutes left. Oh my God, holy shit, everything just happened. I have to find out.
Right. Everything just happens.
Like nothing. This is more like something cool happens in the middle of the episode. Then literally nothing happens. The episode just ends. And then it's just like not a well-paced show. And I think that lends to, again, the feeling of it being a very mid show that we watch.
So definitely we will be back for the first 2 episodes of next season.
In question mark.
Right. Depending on how that season goes, we will figure out how we're going to do it. But no, I did like this episode though. Otherwise, even though it feels like we kind of spent 40 minutes shitting on the show, I did like this episode. I think.
Yeah, I want to be clear. Like, why we're I think for me at least, this season ended on a bit of a negative note, but I think overall the season was fine. Like, it's just hard to like articulate fineness.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Because it's mid. It's hard to be like, oh yeah, this was okay mid. No, you see, I think we're in this. I think when people hear if it's not good, it's bad. We want to define. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I'm fine. Going down. Yeah. We want to define.
All busy today. It's the thing about doing this on Fridays.
Right. We want to define. How do I do this? We want to define. Fine, right? We want to just. It's hard to just be like, oh yeah, this was just fine. This was just because if you want to say why something was fine, you got to say why it wasn't great. And when you start to talk about why it wasn't great, then it starts to sound like you're saying this is bad, but it's not bad.
No,
just not good.
And I think for me, when a lot of mid entertainment is like up, like kind of like where it is on the sort of like rocky sea. Last episode, the last 2 episodes, I felt were like kind of a high point for the show, and for me, this is a little bit more of a low point, just because like a lot of the specific twists here kind of didn't land for me. Mm-hmm. But like again, if you go back to the previous episode, you'll see me say more positive things about the show. So I don't want to, of the Patricks of the world, make it seem like this is some sort of like irredeemable show that is bad, is like really bad. It's just like fine.
I think it works. It's just, this is what we got, so we have to be. I'm sorry, I'm gonna be very wary on where I'm at next season. Ultimately, we will be back though. We will be back for the first episodes, and we'll see you then. So how do we end this one?
Well, don't be middling, and like and subscribe so you can find out when we return to Middle Earth in the future.
I like that one. I like that. We'll see you next year for the Rings of Power. Maybe next year, maybe 2 years from now. Question mark. You're right, for Rings of Power season 2.